It's fair to say this go around, which depending on how you're counting is either the third or fourth time that they tried, I didn't really pay that close attention as I had in the past even to report the moment by moment details because, as you say, everybody was sort of exhausted by it. But they got it done this time, and maybe they were better for the lack of attention being paid by some people and the lack of leaks and everything else that occurred while they were negotiating. They didn't have to do much. They'd already gone down the road so many times, frankly, all the due diligence had been done, so they were able to get it done fairly quickly. But the key, of course, was that SoftBank backed off in terms of what had been sort of through the years, the desire by Masa's son, who controls it, to have a control stake or a lot more power, let's say, at the combined T-Mobile and Sprint. In this case, they own 27% of the equity. They get a few board seats, but this is clearly Deutsche Telekom's game. They will consolidate, as they always wanted to, consolidate the earnings of this combined company on their own balance sheet. This has become the best asset for Deutsche Telekom. You can remember years ago when they tried to sell T-Mobile to AT&T, which of course takes you to the big question here, Joe. I don't know how you feel about it, going from 4 to 3.
I know.
Will it be allowed by the U.S. government, despite what are all these arguments these guys are making in the early days here about the importance of 5G, how they're going to be a champion, the national security concerns, the jobs they're going to add? And you raised an interesting point there when you just said, well, maybe Sprint wouldn't even really be able to compete at all because it's awash in debt and the CapEx requirements of this business are so large. So it'll be interesting to see. There's still a lot of doubters they're going to be able to get it past the government.
Well, if regulators saw some harm to consumers with a vertical merger, how could they possibly not see some harm to consumers with this? I don't, if they challenge AT&T, Time Warner, I mean,
this is a textbook case to try to block.
To try to block. That's what I mean. And I love that that's the first thing the company said. It's going to mean lower prices for consumers. It's like, in what universe would it mean lower prices for consumers?
Right, and that is an argument they're going to have a harder time making, I think, than some of the others. We do know 5G is important. We know the U.S. government has even pointed to it by the CFIUS refusal of allowing Broadcom to acquire Qualcomm. Remember when they told us why at CFIUS? They really made a big deal of 5G, Qualcomm's importance there. These guys are playing right into that.
But David, there's no question that Verizon
when it comes
and
to the consumer,
Verizon and AT&T are going to pursue 5G irrespective of whether Sprint and T-Mobile do or not. The question is, would it somehow put pressure on them to do it faster, and how meaningful that is ultimately going to be to the competition and competitiveness, not only within the marketplace, but the argument I guess they're making is within the context of the United States versus everybody else, which is something I don't think the DOJ necessarily takes into consideration.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Andrew. That's the argument they're going to make. The FCC may have more of a role there. Remember, it was Wheeler last time at the FCC who gave the thumbs down before they even got kind of towards the finish line of actually inking a deal.
Does anybody think the FCC matters in this, though?
Let's not forget.
I thought Ajit came out and said, I don't care about the number. I mean, I thought the FCC probably would say this is just fine and leave it to the DOJ.
Well, we can see Ajit Pai is a lot more favorable towards the potential deal, I think, than was Wheeler. But I don't think you can say, unless you know something I don't, Andrew, that it's an automatic on that front. I don't know that. And when it comes to 5G and those arguments, that's where it may have more, perhaps more resonance with them.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.